With every chapter I read, I became more and more concerned.
Every industry that we know is also going to get transformed with AI. In this digital, social media obsessed age, we are getting locked into that manas layer, which is the digital cocoon. The world is going to change dramatically with AI. In fact, what I feel is that AI is getting overhyped in the short term, but in the long term, it is actually underhyped. I've looked at maybe 20 different sources of research, and the numbers of job losses over the next 15 years range from 30 to 60%. If we get this right, if we can get this whole tsunami of entrepreneurship to happen, I think that will be a lot more value for a lot more people. It will democratize entrepreneurship, and it will actually reduce the disparity, not increase it.
Wonderful to have all of you here at Oxford Bookshop, surrounded by books. And before anything else, congratulations, Nitin, on writing about the AI age, because there's so much of confusion and so many ideas out there, but you've tried to, in a way, distill all of them to bring out what is a unique perspective in many ways, human age in the AI age. So please give a big hand to Nitin, because he is the star of the show today. But when I began reading this book a couple of days ago, with every chapter I read, I became more and more concerned. And I was happy in a way that I'm 60. Because if I was 16 and reading it and looking at what you put across, I'd think that the world is going to change completely and be transformed in a way that is unimaginable. Do you really believe, as you seem to suggest, that the transformative power of AI is such that it could actually rival breakthroughs like fire in the wheel? Are you sort of painting some kind of a grim picture when you suggest lakhs of jobs are going to be lost, it's going to change the way we work, even going to the extent, Nitin, of suggesting that creativity will in some way be subsumed by the power of AI? So is Nitin Seth suggesting that the world is going to change forever?
Very nice to be chatting with you, Rajdeep. Look, I have no doubt that the world is going to change dramatically with AI. In fact, what I feel is that AI is getting overhyped in the short term, but in the long term, it is actually underhyped. Very few people fully understand, the real implications of this force. See, what AI is really doing is that it is kind of unlocking the power of the data of the world. Yeah. So the entire data out there, we can now access it. Yeah. AI makes it accessible, and then it is continuously learning. And we all know the maths that anything which is constantly compounding is unstoppable, and especially when it is backed up by that kind of mass of data. So I do feel that AI is becoming more human than humans, and I think it is going to have dramatic implications. Though the implications, Rajdeep, don't just need to be grim and something that we need to be very concerned about. It is undoubted that there is going to be a very significant implication on jobs today. Yeah. So and researchers are quite consistent in the numbers. I've looked at maybe 20 different sources of research, and the numbers of job losses over the next 15 years range from 30 to 60%. Yeah. And so those are
30 to 60% of existing jobs.
That's 2 billion jobs. 2 billion jobs.
You're talking about 2 billion jobs being affected by what AI will do.
No, I'm saying lost. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
100% impacted. 100% impacted. 100% of jobs will change in some fashion, and whatever my maths is 1.8 billion jobs lost. So that's a dramatic number. But at the same time, Rajdeep, every industry that we know is also going to get transformed with AI. Yeah, including your industry, entertainment, which I'm sure you're also seeing. You name it, financial services, healthcare, education, everything will change, and it will create opportunities for what I call AI natives. Yeah, and these are, Rajdeep, more likely to be entrepreneurs and startups than just the legacy enterprises. So it is going to create also this huge opportunity. And so now, yeah, what we know is going to go down, but this we don't know. We have to create it. Yeah. And look, if we play this right, as fire and wheel were tipping points in our evolution, and they pushed us, Rajdeep, to a next kind of level. AI could push us to a next level, but if we don't realize this opportunity, and it is just about radical automation and kind of just a job loss, then yes, this could be pretty dramatically negative as well.
The reason I want to push you a bit on that is quite simply this. Before you came in, we were having a discussion with some of the young, and my sense was that if I may call journalism in some way creative, I'm not sure how creative we are anymore, but let's talk about films and entertainment, creativity that's out there, music, which we spoke about, or indeed sport, which you write about as one of, in a different context as a mantra for success in the AI age. Do you believe really that professions that are based on human talent, human creativity, will also be fully subsumed by AI? Because you seem to suggest that in the book, that even creativity and emotional intelligence, we would have thought, let's say a concept like empathy, of reaching out to people. Let's assume I gave the example, if there was an air crash tomorrow and the reporter has gone to the field to cover the tragedy, can an AI tool replace what a human can? And you seem to suggest in the book that even in those areas where creativity is at a premium, AI will play an even greater role. That's what I put it. Are you sort of scaring some of us into believing that this is now going to be a completely different world out there where even creative energies are subsumed?
It is going to be a different world. AI is already playing a big role in creativity and empathy, but it is not going to take the human out of the equation, Rajdeep. Not at all. See, end of the day, the name of my book is Human Edge in the AI Age. And more than anything, see, while I think it is very important to understand and accept reality. Because if you don't understand it, you are just in a delusional world. Yeah, you're like an ostrich, you're burying your head in sand. So it's very important we face it. But creativity, I think the human edge advantage in that is absolutely going to be there. So just a couple of weeks back, I was in Mumbai and had a very interesting conversation with some of our leading filmmakers, Ashutosh Gowarikar, Mohit Suri, Komal Nahata, Soha Ali Khan. It was quite fascinating. It was quite fascinating that all of them were actually super aware of AI. I thought this will be, for them, this will be like a new thing. And they were all super aware. They were all using AI at different levels as part of their production process. Ashutosh also had this view that, there is going to be a new genre of movies which are going to be full AI, conceived, designed, produced by AI. But everybody also had this strong view that, hey, it's our human instinct, which we are going to finally, bring in, and that's going to be a differentiator. So look, I think often this conversation around AI we see as 0 or 1, Rajdeep. Either AI kuch nahi kar sakta hai, or AI is going to take away everything. And I think playing at that two ends is very limiting. Yeah. So the reality of AI is somewhere in between. And there is absolutely an opportunity and need for that human edge, which is that creativity, which is that empathy, absolutely. But the bar for that will be higher. The bar for that will be higher. And I think the value for that will also be higher. There will be a lot of creative output, which will be very AI driven, but it will also be possible to discern what is truly human. And I think the value, the pricing, or my younger daughter, she's an artist, and that's what she keeps on arguing with me. I keep on telling her, learn AI. She says, no, I'm not going to learn AI because, what I create, which is truly human, that is going to be more valuable.
Because you say in the book, this is one of your thoughts that you share, which is interesting. Machines are becoming more human than humans, while we are becoming less so. Why do you suggest that? And how do you think we ended up here?
I think it did not happen overnight. Yeah, please.
Go ahead. Thank you.
It did not happen overnight. See, I actually use a frame from Indian philosophy to explain this, Rajdeep. So, and I'm sure you're very aware of this. Like, the Indian philosophy is very, bothered with answering this question, who am I? Yeah, it's like, what is the nature of self? And Yoga Sutras, just one of the texts, they kind of lay it as there are multiple layers. There is a buddhi layer, which is kind of like, the universal intelligence. There is a meta layer, aham, and there is manas, which is the I, me, myself. And if you look at AI, you also have the 3 layers. You have the macro or the Gen AI layer, which is where the LLMs sit. You have the enterprise data and the enterprise model layer, and you have the individual data and the personalization layer. Yeah. Now, what's happening with AI is there is a continuous information flow happening between those 3 layers. And it's kind of constantly exchanging information, that's constantly learning. Whereas for humans, that connection, with that buddhi layer, is becoming really, really fractured, because for that you need slow down, the walk in the morning, meditation, just not doing anything, that's where the synapse connections happen, no? And in this digital social media obsessed age, we are getting locked into that manas layer, which is the digital cocoon. So our natural processes which build reflection, which build wisdom, are getting compromised, and that's where I keep on saying that we are becoming narrower in a more going from that philosophical frame to even a more practical frame. The more we use AI, the more we use Gen AI, it also kind of reduces. We are not really using our cognitive skills. I have kids at different age groups, from 19 to 26. So even when the eldest one, she was young, we used to do this mental maths with her, torture her with like 36 into 89 and stuff like that. I'm sure, we have at least.
We've all gone through it.
We have gone through it, yeah. But with the youngest, we never did that, and I don't, so I think there's a difference in in mental maths and so on. I'm just taking a small example, but the more you use ChatGPT or other AI tools, your cognitive skills go down. So it's kind of the more AI is constantly growing with each interaction, but with each interaction, if you're not careful about it, if you're not disciplined about it, it's very convenient, and you're kind of going, you're becoming smaller.
Let me for a moment press you on where we started off for a moment, and where I think a lot of people are anxious about jobs.
Right.
I think you start with giving us this example of this automatic car. Autonomous car that you went on in San Francisco.
Waymo, yeah.
In somewhere in California.
Yeah.
And how after that you took an Uber car a short while ago, and a short while later, and the driver was very concerned that what happens to my job, right? So there's concern among white collar jobs. There's concern among blue collar jobs. There's concern over jobs across the spectrum. You in the book seem to suggest that we are moving, that AI will probably mark the end of the age of jobs, but will begin the era of entrepreneurs. Presumably, as you say, native AI.
AI native.
AI natives. Are you saying, therefore, that an entire generation which is going to grow up on AI, just as a previous generation grew up on computers, that this generation will adapt, embrace AI in a manner that they will, even if they do not get what are the traditional jobs that exist, will actually be job creators possibly
100%.
by becoming entrepreneurs. Now, are you saying that can happen to everyone, or that's a very limited fraction of this large universe out there?
It's a great point. I think this whole phenomena of the generation alpha or whatever, being AI natives, and they adapting, or they are the ones who are likely to lead, Rajdeep, okay? So, and I
Give me an example.
See, today, if you go to the Bay Area, the average age of startup founders is like 18 or 19. Yeah. And, I'm just amazed, that so many, like, Palantir, one of the, most, whatever, highest valued companies in the world today, is their talent strategy is hiring high school students at like $400,000. Okay, so these are ridiculous numbers. So it's the young generation, who are able to, who have grown up with AI, and a lot of the question that this more human than humans and what happens to humans, our generation worries a lot about it. I don't see the young generation worrying that much about it. They are a lot more.
That's what I said to you.
They are just doing it. They're just doing it. I'll give you another example that this year, we every year we bring in like summer interns, in both US and India, and they're from very good colleges, and the output that the summer interns had, Rajdeep, and most of them were like 1 year into college, was more than I thought. Like, I have 4,200 engineers. How many of them can produce this output? So there is a very big shift happening. So I'm actually not that worried about the new generation, but I think those who are already in the those who are 25, 30 and above.
You're worried about 60-year-olds like me, who grew up in the typewriter age and don't know how, first of all, had struggled to adjust to computers, then adjusted to the digital age, and now have to adapt to AI.
See, I'll tell you what is the opportunity for us. So look, I also made the point that AI is overhyped in the short term. Yeah, because and I think there, especially with all this Gen AI tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity and so on, we take it as gospel. It is not. That output is 40 to 65% accurate. They also don't say it is 100%. We assume it is 100%. Yeah. So 100% or 95% minus what AI is giving you today is equal to context. And context is the human role. And that context is what really requires that domain understanding and that subject matter expertise. And that also, Rajdeep, is going to become more valuable. I think the sheer technical skills are going to go down. If we just talk about software development, big deal in India, that's also what my company does. What is the fastest growing programming language in the world today?
You tell me.
Take a guess.
No idea.
English. Yeah, so it's, the technical skills are becoming less and less relevant. Everybody says, oh, we are doing this course in computer science plus AI, and I say, okay, man, what are you really going to do with it? Elon Musk, every day he tweets, don't study computer science, study maths and physics. There is a reason for that. Yeah, the technical skills are going to become less relevant, but the domain expertise, which is what our generation, and I think most people sitting here do have, becomes, will also become very relevant. Yeah. So look, the nature of what is your competitive advantage changes. The younger generation, I don't think we need to worry too much about them. They are going to figure out and they are going to create a new world. Okay. But the hundreds of millions, who are in the job market today, there is more of a change for them. And when we just keep on using buzzwords like, reskilling, upskilling, without really understanding what that means, that is where the problem is. Because that upskilling, reskilling is not about learning AI. Because that's, usme seekhna kya hai? It's so easy to use it. But it is that knowledge that you have, how do you apply it in that context, is what is a huge opportunity but needs a very different mindset.
That's a very interesting way, because one of the fascinating things I found is when you come to giving the mantras for success and you use the acronym possible, that's a good way to do it. Because he's mastered the idea of the acronym. If you ever jam, Jan Dhan Aadhar Mobile, it's all designed in a way to put in ideas that work effectively. So your acronym is possible. P is for problem solving, critical thinking. O is for openness to change. S is for spirituality. The other S is for sports. I mean teamwork through sports. I is impact and meaningful change. Balance is the B, leveraging AI power while staying human. L is leadership. E is entrepreneurship. Think like a creator. I'm going to turn for a moment to the two S's because I find them fascinating that you put them there, spirituality and sport. You actually seem to believe that team building and the concept of resilience through sport is something that will empower you in this AI age. And spirituality in its own way has that space, that human connect possibly, that will enable you also to manage the AI's age. Do you want to sort of amplify these ideas that you put forward as to how you believe you can combat the AI age?
I think these are my two favorite mantras. Glad you picked on them, Rajdeep. So let's talk about spirituality. See, my entire point is that to succeed in the AI age, it is about being more human. It's not just about mastering technology. Technology is actually becoming very easy. And when you say being more human, spirituality is a very essential aspect of it. Okay, but okay, let's go from that headline to a practical reality. AI and the digital age, Rajdeep, is also the age of noise. We're inundated with signals, tweets, social media posts, blah blah blah, and it's very easy to just, at least I feel like this numbness in my head. And for me, my coping mechanism is doing meditation, that I sit in 20 minutes meditation, and I suddenly find clarity. The world looks less oppressive, and some of the aspects which I think are very important as part of the human edge, which is creativity, empathy. I feel that more. Yeah. So that's why, see, spirituality to me very simply is a process of going inside yourself. And when there is so much noise happening, I think that coping mechanism, it could be different methods. It could be meditation, it could be gardening, it could be a walk, it could be running, it could be prayer. But some process of going inside yourself, I think, is very essential. That is the unlock for creativity, compassion, and this broader point about expanding the human consciousness. So that's spirituality. Now, I'm also very fascinated by this concept of duality, that you have contradictory things which kind of go together, and that's where sports comes in. In a very physical, in a very virtual world, the physical is also still very important. AI is very tough. The succeeding in this age is not an easy walk in the park. So it's not easy to do it alone. While there is a lot of talk about single person billion-dollar companies, you need team. And what better way of learning teamwork than sports? Also, you're going to have, if you're an entrepreneurial journey, ask any entrepreneur. Your day-to-day is not easy. You have more losses than wins. Yeah. And this ability to bounce back from losses is very important. And what better way than sports to learn that?
Because let me for a moment now come to the E, entrepreneurship, which we just, you're moving from the age of jobs to the age of entrepreneurship. Now, lots of young Indians are in their own way becoming entrepreneurs. You're seeing this efflorescence of unicorn companies emerging in India. But for every one who succeeds, there are hundreds who don't. Do you believe that this is where governments come in? This is where policy makers come in? That you create an environment, not just catchwords like Startup India, Stand Up India, these all sound very nice. How do you actually create an environment, an ecosystem that actually rewards entrepreneurs, genuinely gives them a sense of belief? I mean, the United States did that very successfully in its pomp. Silicon Valley is a great example of what has happened when you reward entrepreneurship or create a culture of entrepreneurship. In India, we've seen over the years, jugaad, you cut corners and hope that is the way you move ahead. Do you believe we need to sort of change our notions and reward entrepreneurship in a way that it's not just 1 out of 100 who succeeds, or 1 out of many, many thousands who succeeds, but many more Indians who genuinely are given a leg up to become entrepreneurs? That is the challenge for government and policy makers.
No, it is. And the scale at which we need to unleash entrepreneurship is very, very different. It needs to be an X, maybe that's like 100,000 X or something like that. I see the nature of entrepreneurship is such that failures will happen, Rajdeep. The numbers in India are perhaps not very different from numbers elsewhere. What I think, there are a couple of things that are important here. I think first is the notion of patient capital. Because the one thing I see happening in India, versus the US. I'm by the way amazed with the entrepreneurial energy. I was at the Bangalore Tech Summit, two or 3 days back, and 1 lakh people there. 1 lakh people. And as soon as I was standing, after my session, I'm like, it's literally hordes reaching out. Sir, my card, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Amazing, yeah, amazing. So much hustle. So that's great to know. But I think I see a lot of short-term orientation, and therefore the nature of startups are perhaps a little shallow. The problems that I think generally we are trying to solve in India are not very deep, not very cutting edge. And I think that's the difference I see in the US. And we need a lot more patient capital. The capital is there, but look, we need to unleash like a har ghar vyapar. Yeah.
That's a nice line. This thing, he's got a nice line. Har ghar vyapar, but go ahead.
Har ghar vyapar, right? Because it has to go, see, it's like the Indian cricket team. It has to go beyond the tier 1 to the tier 3, 4. No?
Yes.
That's, Indian cricket team represents the Indian ethos. That's where I think the entrepreneurial, tsunami is going to happen. Yeah. And see, that's not where capital reaches. That is patient capital, because, where the return expectation is not 3 years or 5 years, but 10 years. And it's a very different, it's almost like a microfinance model to venture capital. Yeah. So that's kind of one aspect of it. But the bigger aspect where I think the government needs to really step in is that, see, AI, today the challenge with AI, and it's, because we and the world have blindly adopted the American model of AI, is very, very consumption intensive and very capital intensive. Yeah. So, this needs compute. As soon as you start to work at scale, you need a lot of compute power. That's expensive. You need data. So, I think one of the things that we really need to do as a country, and that's where the policy needs to focus, is that can we upgrade the DPI, the digital public infrastructure that we have, which is a huge positive for us as a country. Can we now evolve that to be an AI enabling ecosystem? Can we make compute available? Can we make data available? Can we bring data as data services which can be easily accessed? We unlock that huge data that we have. Can we build core models which are available, so that getting started becomes very easy. So you can really focus on the problem you are trying to solve, versus spending majority of your capital and effort on setting up the infrastructure. Now, setting up this enabling ecosystem, I think is perhaps the biggest thing government needs to do. Right now, I would also submit that we seem to have a bit of lack of clarity, because we are obsessed about foundational models. There is a general assumption that AI is equal to foundational models. It is one layer of the AI stack, and by the way, that layer is very capital intensive, very human efficient. Yeah, a ChatGPT has, OpenAI has 3,500-4,000 engineers. Its Chinese rival DeepSeek has 200 engineers. So you see the point. That's not where you're going to create this, job employment. That is going to happen in the layer above, which is the application layer. Yeah, which is you use the AI infrastructure. It is not necessarily about your deep coding or technical skills, but it is about your domain knowledge. And with that, you're creating, you're trying to solve, the many problem statements which are there and which will emerge in each industry. That is the opportunity for India. That is where, we can have an answer to the big job loss. That is certainly going to happen. And I think that's where I would really like, that our focus as a country and for policy goes. And then, how do we create this enabling, ecosystem and the infrastructure, make it available on a low-cost basis to the masses out there.
Can I ask you, before I throw it up to the audience, is that there is a generational issue that I see from those who grew up in the pre-AI age versus those who are now, as you said, AI natives. The education system of this country, or indeed the notion of parenting. How many parents and the education system are truly embracing AI because they've come from another age? how do you overcome that? How do you create an education system and a parenting system where parents and children become, parents in particular, parents and teachers become attuned to what will be the requirements of the AI age? Is that going to be another big challenge? I mean, just think about a little kid. You mentioned tier 2 towns or a tier 3 town. Think of a kid who's already struggling in schools out there. They don't have proper facilities out there. We saw this accentuated during COVID, where a number of schools struggled to keep up with the rest because they just didn't have the infrastructure. So you seem to have a huge inequality of access to an AI ecosystem. What would you suggest the education system and indeed parents need to do to ensure greater equality of access to this AI world? How will AI become a great leveler in what is actually a very unequal Indian society?
Yeah, our society is unequal, but I think...
will AI become an equalizer?
I absolutely think so.
It will?
I absolutely think so. The nature of AI, or even before that, digital data and AI, these are democratizing forces. The nature of these technologies is democratizing. We may be sitting here in Connaught Place, Delhi, or you may be sitting in Kakinada, or in Navsari, Gujarat, or Bulandshahr or Fagwada, but you have access to the same content. You have access to the same content that the kid studying in Harvard Business School in Boston has, or the one studying in Stanford in Palo Alto has. So this is a great equalizer, and just to access it, it's wo access kar rahe hain aaj bhi. So the nature of these technologies is democratizing, okay, and that's why we have to absolutely and completely embrace that. Yeah. Now the AI startup bit and cost of compute and all of that is an issue which we talked about, and that's where maybe government has to step in. But there should be no confusion. The nature of this is access. All these technologies are about consumption. They're about access. You don't need to learn AIs to use it, Rajdeep. Yeah. Now coming to the two questions about education and parenting. See, this is super critical, and that's why I'm spending so much time evangelizing this point. Like last 3 months, I've gone and spoken at least 30 colleges in India. Because this is a critical point. See, this thing about jobs will go down, but a huge opportunity around entrepreneurship. This is a fundamental rewiring. This is a rewiring of our expectations as parents, what we set with our children, and how the entire education process works. If we just talk about education for a moment, and then we'll get to parenting. Education first, the nature of skills that are important changes. From focus on technical skills, it is a lot more on the fundamental skills. Problem solving, as an example. Structured problem solving, learning to learn. Because the specific skill, its half-life is going to become less and less. How do you encourage, when you say entrepreneurship, where is that going to come from? That is going to come from lived experiences, yeah, which is very different than just an academic, rigor. So how do we make, lived experiences possible as part of the education curriculum? Now, I see, Stanford and Berkeley. My son is at Berkeley. I see it closely. It's not just a huge, great college. It's part of an ecosystem. You have the startups, you have the big tech, you have the venture capital community. It's completely seamless. I don't know if he's in the class or he's there, but look, one day he's with the CEO of Neuralink, he's going into XAI. It's just seamless. And I think that's the opportunity. And when I go to colleges, that's what I'm talking to them about. That rethink the concept of the university, rethink the concept of the college, because it's not just the delivery of curricula. It has to be that ecosystem, and that's possible. They have done it. We can also do it. It's a very different wiring. By the way, as an IIT Delhi grad and I'm Lucknow, post grad, I feel that it's the new age, more private colleges who I find are more receptive and are likely to make the change faster. Yeah.
Sure.
So, but there is a very big, this shift that will need to happen. Parenting is a tough one. There is a catch-22. It's a catch-22 that you can't say that don't use AI. But also with AI, there is, what we spoke about earlier, that the more you use it, it's going to kind of also, impact your cognitive skills. So what is the right way of doing it? How do you do it? Is something as parents, we need to find a balance ourselves. But the most important thing, I feel, and is that take a chill pill. Because, I think our generation, I don't know about you growing up, but I feel that my parents were involved, but less involved than, we have been as parents. We are super involved. And I think, it's about taking a chill pill, because the world that is emerging, we also don't understand it fully. Yeah. I think, I find, so I'll give you, this time I went to a school, Rajdeep. I generally speak in colleges. I went to Air Force Bal Bharati in Delhi. And, we had like grade 7 and 8 kids there in the beginning, in the front. And I said, yeah, these are kids. I should have told that, get 11th and 12th. But Rajdeep, I was amazed how well they absorbed, not just absorbed, understood the message. I go to a college, 1/3 of the students are sleeping. I went to the school, and like everybody was questions, everybody like this. And I asked them how many use ChatGPT, 100%. I asked them about programming. They were talking about C++, C#, this and that. And they're ready. They're ready. And the questions they asked were very different. So I think that generation is, will figure it out. I think as parents, we just need to maybe, do some meditation, play some sports, so that we can, bring down our anxiety levels.
I wish my son was in the audience. He'd say exactly that. He's a what he calls a docpreneur, a surgeon who's become combining his surgery now with entrepreneurship. But that's the new India, and you're right. I think the best way to do is just allow them to fly, and if you allow them to fly, who knows whether they will soar. We just don't know when. But Nitin, I want to open this up, because even before you came in, lots of people had lots of interesting questions about how they saw AI. So if anyone has a question, just give your name, put your hand up, and we'll take your question one by one. Why don't I go round? Maybe we can get some of the cameras to slightly switch to the side so we can see the people. Go ahead, the gentleman out there. Can you just slightly move to the side, please? Thoda side pe jana taki we can see everybody. Thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi Nitin. Congrats for your excellent book. I really love the concepts you have covered, from spirituality to importance of meditation to sports. My question is specifically around the learning. So you have covered in the art of learning part and the ability to learn. So if I, for example, look at my father's time, when they used to learn, when he was in a bank, he learned COBOL and it continued for a few years. When I started working, it started from SAS and SPSS and a lot of IBM tools, and in last 10 years it's been constantly changing. Now, as in your organizations also, you'll see R and Python, and it's changing very fast. But when I look at my kids, it is the moment they will pass out, when they actually start learning, the pace of change is very fast. So what would be your suggestion of having learning ability to unlearn, relearn? Should that be taught in colleges, or how as the parents we should be doing?
That's a great question. The openness to change. It's one of your mantras, but the fact is change is taking place, as he rightly says, so fast. How do you adapt to such a fast world? What do parents do, and what do the kids do? Can they adapt to change? Is it so much? It's too much of disruption.
See, I had talked about a concept, in our conversation as well, which is lived experiences. Lived experiences. I think in our country, we have a obsessive focus on academic excellence. See, I am also a product of that. Yeah. And I think I have forced that onto my kids as well. But as I moved to the US 7-8 years back, the difference that I've seen is that whoever it is, whether it's a millionaire or even a billionaire's kid, is doing a job and is flipping burgers. Aisa bhi nahi, the job is like some very fancy job. They are doing very basic jobs. And I can see the point of it. I can see the point of it that it kind of builds some life skills and life experiences which are going to be even more valuable in this AI age. Because look, if it is about entrepreneurship, let's say that it is, see, because I give this entire thing and then still people come to me, okay, what is that skill, secret skill? If I learn or my kid learns, then the job will be secured. Okay, so, but, so let's stay focused on entrepreneurship. How does entrepreneurship happen? It doesn't come by, reading books, even reading a good book like Human Age in the AI Age. Yeah. See, it comes from something that is very felt, is a need that is felt. Even if you look at Musk, you'd say, he looks like a madman. How's he doing like SpaceX and then X and PayPal and everything? But Baba, when he was 14, he was building rockets. He was coding. Okay, so whatever he has done has not come from some magic. These are all lived experiences that he had. We know, about Steve Jobs as well. The only thing he ever learned was calligraphy and design, isn't it? That's the only course he did. And that's the foundation of all the Apple products. So this notion of lived experiences is what I would really, I think that's what we need to embrace. We need to let go of the fear. आपने तो इतना कमाई लिया कि आपके बच्चों को इतना ऐसा तो नहीं कि they are going to be on the street, is it? No. So anyway, for most, the baseline they have is pretty good, isn't it? So I think it is how do we liberate them, how do we let them go and embrace different experiences. That is, I think, the biggest gift we can give to them.
Let's get a couple of more questions. Anybody else with a question? Yeah, go ahead, the gentleman there.
Thank you. Hello, hi, good evening. First of all, Rajdeep sir, I hope you're in a good health now.
Much better,
it's getting better. Nitin sir, wonderful. Big congratulations for this book. The session has been quite wonderful so far. And I hope reading the entire book, it would be even more wonderful. So taking cues from a couple of questions what Rajdeep sir had asked to you. The first one, you talked about the automatic cars and all. Okay, so, and the last question that sir asked about the inequality in the society. So I would start with the first one. Let's say in India, in 2025, there definitely are not, at least on a commercialized level, and no automatic cars are there. And let's say they come in the next, to be on an optimistic side, let's say they come up in the next 5 years or 10 years or something. But that too, I'm pretty sure, and we all will agree with that, with the fact that not everyone is going to afford them. So hardly the top 1 or 2% population, or even lesser, in the initial days, they are going to afford that. Now connecting this question to the last one regarding the inequality in the society. So isn't AI or any of the technologies that are associated with AI is just going to further, increase the gap in the society that is between in the top 0.1% of the population or the top 1% of the population and the rest. I would say that a lot of blue-collared society or the general middle class out there. Because
why don't you respond to that? I mean, will AI accentuate inequalities? He's giving the example of, again, it comes back to access, of course, but do you believe that blue-collar jobs which are easily replaceable, many believe those are easily replaceable, who don't have the super skills that are possibly only a smaller sliver of society has, will it widen inequality in your view or actually overcome inequality?
It's a very interesting thing, with Rajdeep, with AI. It is going to impact white-collar jobs way more than blue-collar jobs.
That's what you say in the book.
So over the next 5 years, for every single blue-collar job lost, 10 white-collar jobs will be lost. So you're absolutely right in what what you spoke about autonomous cars. In India, maybe that will not happen. Maybe 5 years, maybe it's not even 10 years. Yeah, but the software developer job is going. Okay, that is going. In my company, I can tell you that this year we are getting 40% productivity. Okay, that's in 10 months. That number will increase.
40%
productivity on software development. We are growing 15%. I think we have reduced our headcount by 10%. That's a reality. So it's actually, the management consultant, the equity researcher, the portfolio manager, the software developer, the lawyer, the marketing person. Those are the jobs that are going to go. I think the blue collar jobs are going to be less impacted, at least in the short, medium term. But in the longer term, over 15 years, as robots become much lower cost, more competent, blue collar jobs will also be impacted. Yeah. But at least the short term, the impact is, that's where the dynamics of this AI and jobs are very different. Because every technology where we assume that it is taking out jobs from the lower end of the food chain or the value chain, and it is creating more at the higher end. That's not the case with AI. Okay, so if you're in the US, you're better off being a plumber than being a computer science engineer. A plumber is getting like $100,000 now. But coming to the broader point, and I spoke about it. See, there is a big delta, okay? The jobs that are going to get lost are quite known, okay? The kind of what can turn this into a positive if there is a har ghar vyapar or a tsunami of entrepreneurship. And see, that needs a big effort, okay? If that doesn't happen, certainly inequality will increase, okay? So look, while the next 15 years are going to herald this massive job loss, they're also going to be the biggest 10, 15 years of value creation in human history, okay? Because a lot of value will get created. It is possible. There is a scenario where it is very driven by big tech, okay? And a few hover up like a disproportionate amount of value. It is possible, okay? That's why, why is it I've written this book? That's why I've written this book, okay? That, I saw that, what are some of the shifts happening, and we have to evangelize this like obsessively, okay? Because if we don't do anything about it, if this whole message of, hey, we need to reset ourselves from jobs, it's a mindset thing, it's a skills thing to entrepreneurship, we will end up in a pretty bad place. There is no denying that. But that future doesn't need to be a given now. We still can do something about it. And I think that's why these conversations are so important. If we get this right, if we can get this whole tsunami of entrepreneurship to happen, I think that will be a lot more value for a lot more people. It will democratize entrepreneurship, and it will actually reduce the disparity, not increase it.
Interesting. I'll take one final question. Anybody else with a question at the back there, or? Yes.
Hi. I would like to ask that as AI makes decision making faster, where should human judgment line be drawn?
See, I spoke about it that AI is at some X% output, which is 40 to 65%, some range. In different type of situations or processes, it is different. Yeah, 100% or 95% minus that is the human context, or that's where the human comes in. Yeah. So look, we should not assume that the human role is going away. Yeah. It's just that if earlier the human was involved in all the 10 steps of the process, now the human is involved in maybe 3 steps or 4 steps. And that's where I also spoke about the context or the domain knowledge. So for those of us who are 60 plus or 50 plus or even 40 plus, there is hope for all of us. Yeah, because it requires a lot more of that context. Yeah. So one kind of...
It's like leadership, your L. I mean, I just wonder whether, sorry to interrupt, but I just wonder whether maybe the 50, 60-year-olds can share their lived experiences as you are through your books to provide a sense of leadership, which,
absolutely.
Which is very important to the young. The young need leaders and mentors all the time.
Absolutely, and just to kind of connect the 2 points, and I think it's an interesting point that if you think about an organization kind of structure, most times we think of it as a pyramid shape. Yeah. So what is very likely, logically the way it should go in the AI age is move from the pyramid to a diamond structure. Okay, where there is a lot, where there are more experienced people whose value increases because the question you ask that you're not going through the entire process of the entire decision-making process, you're coming in at the end and you have to bring that judgment which is likely to be the more experienced person. Now that's the theory of the case. beginning of the year, that's what I felt. And I was actually getting very worried that, okay, what will happen to all the young guys? And, how do you actually get to a diamond? Okay, because you can suddenly parachute to a diamond. You also need the pyramid to go there. But what's interesting is that as we have been using AI, okay, it's actually the younger folks who seem to have just done better. Okay, so I'm seeing it in some of my client situations, like very like a financial services firm, very complex work. The average age of the person there is like 10 years, at least 10 years experience working on that process or product. And now the leaders are coming in saying, no, actually we need younger people. While these people have a lot of knowledge, they're not able to really adapt or drive change in that AI world. So it's quite interesting. I think we're still learning a lot. Okay, we're still learning a lot. Now, theory of the case is that diamond. Okay, and for all of us, there is hope. That's where we bring context. But equally, we need to be change ready. Okay, we need to be change ready. Rajdeep, your point about we can be leaders and we can give gyan. Do the young ones want to hear our gyan? Do we have context relevant gyan? Who's going to drive that shift? Sure. And increasingly, again in my I kind of derive a lot of my themes from the practical experiences. Rajdeep, is the young ones who are the change agents.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but I think there is hope. Don't worry.
That's a positive note to end on. Just in case any one of us thought that we were completely dinosaurs, there is possibly hope for all of us in a way. But I think adaptability is also a great Indian strength. I don't think we've ever given ourselves enough credit as a people. Over the years, Indians have shown a remarkable ability to adapt to change. We only need the infrastructure, as the Chinese have shown, to embrace, to be able to ensure that our universities and our educational institutions adapt to that change. You need them also to be aligned in a way to what the AI world will require. But Nitin, I think it's extremely valuable that you've written this book, because it will evangelize a lot of people. I hope that this book will get translated importantly into Hindi and some regional languages, because it's been my belief. And you can do it through AI and chat GPT if you want. Not ideal in all situations, but I do think that that's where the real energies of this country at the moment lie. And the more we are able to do that, I think the more barriers will be broken. So once again, congratulations on writing this book. And I hope each of you will pick up this book and actually share some of these mantras with your friends and get them to read it, because this is a book that actually looks into the future and thereby perhaps makes all of us more future ready. So thank you again, and thank you to the audience for joining us here this evening.
Thank you. Thanks, Raj.